Indonesia's toxic tofu time bomb. Isn't that a tongue twister? Poisoning millions daily.
There is plastic fumigated tofu that is quietly feeding and poisoning entire cities. And I'm not being sensationalist, because in this video, I'm going to prove it to you. We're visiting the global epicenter of toxic tofu.
Toxic tofu. First problem. Tofu is literally soy. Get it away from me. I will not be psyoped into being convinced that it's delicious. It takes the form of whatever you put on it. It's like Ditto, the Pokemon. It's not delicious on its own. It's bean paste.
Surabaya. And here we'll see village after village that have giant industries producing industrial quantities of toxified tofu. Spoiler alert, it involves burning a lot of plastic. And we're going to be following it from just the raw curd through to the final crispy fried blocks.
Right off the heat. It's really good.
And
fried soy in seed oil. That's literally what he's eating.
Taking a look into the science that has been done in these areas and see why this is very likely to be a real bad idea with some pretty serious consequences.
Wait a second, now there's microplastics in my soy? Think about that. And you're cooking it in seed oils? As if it could get any worse.
And then finally, we'll do...
You're deep frying soy in seed oil plastic.
what we probably shouldn't.
That's the fucking dark triad.
And take a bite of this stuff, like millions do here on the side of the streets.
Yeah, just inject the prolactin straight into my ball sack. My cock is useless anyway.
And see just why, despite knowing exactly where this comes from, that people ignore it, and why it's very unlikely to change.
Because they're poor. Passing over opportunities repeatedly. Ashton Hall speaks of this. They don't have a heat source, so you have to burn trash to turn soy into an edible cube of non-bioavailable protein.
That's wrong. Indonesia eats a lot of tofu, but especially here in the east of Java, in Surabaya and the surrounding area. It is Indonesia's second largest city, and you will find it everywhere. Fried, grilled, in soups, in snacks. It is a staple. And the supply chain starts in these tofu villages that surround the city.
I would prefer to eat roadkill, unironically. At least it's animal protein.
These fringes.
You can sort of see the smokestacks as you walk through the village.
Just these huge plumes of black smoke rising out of chimneys across the villages. Thick, greasy smoke. It swirls in the heat, and it looks like the village is full of tiny coal plantations, not food factories.
Guys, these factories behind me are making one of the most eaten foods here in Indonesia. Tofu.
I would rather starve than eat anything from a food vendor in India or whatever third world country this is. Well, that's a very privileged take.
Here's the core issue. Making tofu at this scale requires a lot of heat. Massive boilers running non-stop, huge woks to deep fry the product. And to keep the cost...
Please tell me what oil they're using, because I know it's not olive oil. And I know it's not butter. And I know it's not tallow.
down, they rely on whatever is cheapest.
What is this? This is coconut or no?
Fucking motor oil.
Oh, that's the trash as well.
The trash.
What is that?
Local plastic.
Is that trash that they're using as coal?
Here in and around Surabaya, actually, they have a relatively efficient plastic industry. Like, it is used for everything, and anything that does have a purpose other than burning will likely be used for that purpose. And as I've heard from the owner, they use a mix here of wood, coconut, which you maybe see on top of the burner.
But the most reliable and consistent fuel is plastic waste.
Nah! I love the taste of tire in my tofu.
They feed these boilers and these deep fryers with it all day long.
One thing that is kind of nuts to me is just like the amount of fuel that is
That's organically grown BPA-filled plastic as Satan intended.
required to keep this tofu factory going. That boiler, I mean, it really is just like an old school steam train. Like, the thing is absolutely massive.
Yo, Bong Joon-ho made a film about this. It's called Snowpiercer.
Has two guys just rotating full time, loading up these coconut husks and bags of plastic, and it rolls all day long. And this entire village is filled with them. There are 56 factories, I believe they said.
How is anyone still alive? You need to study anti-fragility.
That are just filled with trash burners. Absolutely wild. And look, I don't love to take arguments on the climate change side of things. I do think it's a little bit of a cult at this point, but let me tell you, going for those plastic straws, I don't think it's gonna make a difference, guys. I really don't.
Exactly. We have been psyoped into believing that recycling matters. Look at these countries, bro! If you could even call them that! What are we talking about here?
All these
They're fucking cancer maxing!
factories run in a pretty similar manner. At their core is a giant boiler. That boiler feeds steam through metal pipes across the entire space, and it connects to each individual workstation.
The steam, the boiler
This looks like my Schedule 1 setup.
ends back there, and you have this one line that runs the entire length of the factory. So this factory seems to be set up very differently from any
Yeah, but I have to limit my water usage when I take a hot shower.
other tofu factory I have seen before. It's sort of like each person is running their own individual station, and they are going to do 90% of the steps to take.
Oh my god! Think of all the turtles that you're murdering! I hope they die a slow and painful death.
The bean, curd, juice, somebody correct me in the comments, through to the complete white tofu.
These workstations consist of 3 concrete vats.
Just kidding. I'm not contributing to the death of turtles. At all. Because I don't throw my trash in the ocean like these other countries. Oh look, there's a river. There's our life source. Let's pollute it. Oh, but it's a cultural issue. Their culture just promotes littering.
The first one is like a pure boiler. This is where all of the
Dude, we should come out with vending machines where we deposit our recyclables and it just prints out a fucking bug brick. A convenient source of BPA-filled soy
tofu is going to get
with seed oil dipping sauce.
loaded and steamed up. They have a fresh water tub right next to it,
This is their moonshining tofu.
and then a third one, which is where they're going to do most of the kind of coagulation and draining. Let's see each step broken down.
First, the soybeans are soaked and then ground into a thick paste. The paste gets
I think I'll vote Bernie Sanders now.
dumped into a boiling vat and brought to a rapid simmer by that live steam pipe. They're basically giant steam wands frothing up industrial
I know I make a lot of jokes about the mimetic culture of meat versus soy and red pill versus blue pill and being based versus cringe. But I'm being 100% genuine when I say this. I'm pretty sure this disrupts your endocrine system and fucks with your brain.
sized lattes.
Honestly, I can see why all these guys are shirtless. It is absolutely cooking in here, just the heat, the steam under this sort of asbestos roofing. And man, I wish I could rip my shirt off right now as well. This is wild.
Once it's boiled, they either scoop the milk or just straight pump it through one of these cheesecloth hammocks that are hanging above the curdling vat. Workers then swirl it around in this circular motion, forcing the thinner liquid through the cloth, while the solid stuff stays trapped. Eventually, they wring it tight, twisting it like laundry.
What he has balled up right there, that's waste.
And they're left with this puck of soybean pulp.
That remaining solids from the tofu is often
Don't worry about that guy wasting water. It all goes back into the tofu. This video is highly disturbing.
tempeh, but also apparently it's just kind of given to animals. So
More protein than beef, by the way.
it's sort of a waste product.
Yes, this is for human, and then this is for the cow, and then the what? Oh, pig too. Yes.
But back to the tofu.
But they're nice people, chat. They're nice people. They're the nicest people ever. They'll give you the shirt off their backs. You can't criticize their culture. They're so nice.
So in these blue drums, in between
They're just doing this to survive.
these sort of stations, is the coagulant. We're going to pump a certain amount of that.
So far, whenever we've done poverty tourism via the algorithms, we've seen Filipinos throw TNT in the ocean to blow up fish. And this. As well as killing any sort of life in the only river near them, in Bangladesh. And chalking up littering to a cultural skill gap.
That in with the sort of strained tofu liquid, and now we wait.
The strained milk gets coagulant added.
Thanks, white man.
It's scooped from these large blue barrels that are placed next to each of the stations.
We should now be able to see, once the tofu has really started coagulating, they're able to just skim off any of the
They're slaving away and this guy's filming them like National Geographic animals. Yeah, he probably made thousands of dollars off the ad revenue.
broth that's remaining on top, and you really see quite quickly the
To be fair, this is pretty animalistic. This is some of the lowest shit I've ever seen.
separation of the tofu and just the water that's remaining within the coagulation drum.
Imagine one of them speaks English and they sniff out the rat in their kitchen.
So this tofu is already starting to really separate. You can start to see a watery surface on there, and underneath it is the sort of solidifying tofu.
They remove as much water as possible.
How did they figure this out, by the way? Let's get millions of soybeans, turn it into glue, boil it in plastic, separate the curd from the whey, and pack it into a brick. This is esoteric alchemical fuckery.
And then the curdled tofu mixture is poured into these presses that are lined with cheesecloth.
This would one-shot Brian Johnson.
They wrap it up, stack them, and they do this over and over until they have a batch of around 9 molds. The weight from each of these presses forces out the liquid, which just gushes across these tiled channels on the floor.
You can sort of see the rotating nature of this production. This guy is scooping out the coagulated tofu into the presses, and at the same time he's already preparing his next batch for boil. So again, they really do just, there's no waste of time here. It's not like they finish one batch completely and then start the next one up. As soon as one of the vats is free, it's getting utilized right away for the next batch. One batch after the other, endlessly.
And the working
What if I told you that I had one of these farms in my backyards? One of these sludge factories. I have 15 Indonesians pumping out bricks of soy for my consumption.
conditions here are, they're intense. The floor is soaked and slippery. There is steam everywhere. The sun just beats through the busted asbestos roofing, and the air is this
And I don't even pay them. They pay me.
humid mix of soy, sweat, cigarette, and plastic smoke.
That's a crazy sentence. It warms my heart when other people use our vernacular. Soy and sweat. The opposite of sun and steel. Mishima talks about this.
It's remarkable how much these places remind me of Dobby Ghats, the laundry slum in Mumbai. I don't know what it is. I think it's like the steam, the heat, the wetness, all this moisture everywhere. Just that same kind of vibe.
Once the tofu is fully pressed, it's cut using barbecue grates as a template, and from there it's either dumped into these brine tanks and sent off to the market where it can be sold fresh, or it's headed to the fryers. And these deep fryers are where things get even more intense.
I've kind of become numb to it. You just have this yet another giant workshop. Here we have all of the tofu makers cranking along with their stations. We have 2 giant trash boilers here. And then behind me, the sort of final step, the deep fryers.
In each factory there's
I mean, I've seen the soy factories in Indonesia. You're headed that way, bucko. Keep voting for the left.
a whole section devoted
They cook over trash and I'm the one with the health problems.
to the fry. Rows of oversized woks bubbling away with oil. The air is just thick with smoke. There's no fuel here, no wood. It's not gas. It is heaps of burning plastic. Right there, fed directly to the flame.
Let me tell you guys, like, you instantly know you are in one of these villages. Like, there's no hiding it. It's got that tinge, you know, that horrible smell when you start burning plastic that just in your gut, you know it's wrong. Something's going on. You ain't supposed to be breathing this air. That is the smell of these.
Yeah, any Canadians that voted for Mark Carney, this is your future.
Entire villages.
The air is just thick with this black smoke, and the smell of burning plastic is everywhere. And it mixes with the grease and the frying oil, and it kind of just sticks to your skin. And still, weirdly enough,
Dude, where's the WEF when we need them?
I can kind of understand how these locals get used to it. After 30 minutes or so, it just sort of fades into the background. But the truth is that this stuff is not harmless. A 2019 study looked into the effects of plastic fuel on Indonesia's food supply chain, and it focused on eggs laid by free-range chickens living near tofu factories. And the results were kind of insane. These eggs had the second highest dioxin levels ever recorded in Asia. They were second only to post-war Vietnam, where the soil had been poisoned by the famous Agent Orange.
What they said was insecticide to kill the mosquitoes here and so that people wouldn't get malaria. But it turned out to be Agent Orange, the dioxins.
That same one that caused all those birth defects and cancers and just generational
Bro, you cannot be putting this on my screen.
trauma across Vietnam that still affects the country today. Studies have linked exposure to dioxins with all kinds of health issues. Cancers, heart disease, diabetes, messed up hormones. It is a long and really ugly list.
Agent Orange, more like Agent Soy.
Let's put this in perspective again. Eating just one egg from these areas would expose an adult to 70 times the European
I don't think it's sad because it just makes me mad. I have anger.
Food Safety Authority's tolerable daily intake for dioxins.
As much as I want to be like, aww, I'm just pissed.
And it doesn't stop there. The eggs are filled with other plastic-derived chemicals, SCCPs, PBDEs, FPOSs. I don't even know
It's filled with Patrick Bet-Davids, huh?
what any of that stuff means. But what I do know is I don't want it in my food.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, I do find there to be like at least a little bit of a contradiction in terms like these guys, they will not use Argentinian, Vietnamese, or even Indonesian soybeans because of the lack of quality. But no one's really afraid of the copious amounts of plastic that's getting into their foods.
Get those shit beans out of here.
I don't know, humans have weird norms.
As with the tofu making process, there's one person for each station. The deep frying is done by the women, The tofu arrives in those brine buckets, ready to be fried. And
They have a meritocracy. Women are better on the fryers.
in the corner of every room is just a mountain
There
of
is no DEI hiring going on in the slave pens.
trash. This is, of course, the fuel. It's offcuts from the factories, unrecyclable plastics, wrappers,
Condoms.
packaging, and it all gets scooped up by hand and fed into the burning fire beneath the oil. The tofu is then dropped in, handful by
Dude, if there's not a woman cooking my slop, I'm not eating it.
handful, until it becomes just this golden brown. Eventually, it's scooped out with a strainer that is universally
This makes bugs look appealing.
made of the front half of a standing fan.
Guys, this is why children in Asia have no fingers. Every front of a fan is always used for some kind of innovative thing. Usually I see them as grills, but tofu scoop, love it.
And it's laid out to cool, sorted by size, bagged, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you. All right.
And honestly, I thought that the tofu making was the rough part, but this is even more unbearable. The
Dude, where are their gloves? Filthy.
heat next to each of these deep frying burners just hits you like a punch, and the whole room reeks of melted plastic. It is humid as hell, and these women, they're
Yo. Hell is not someone. I'm one-shotted by this video if you can't tell. Hell already exists on Earth.
grinding. That is hard work.
Okay, I'm getting told I should try one of these. And so this is like this big,
It's a soy croquette. It's a golden nugget of estrogen.
I don't know, square piece of tofu. Maybe it's a little bit different from these sort of longer pieces.
Yeah. Fuck wood. Plastic gives it that nice gestalt, that nice patina, an umami aftertaste.
It's less warm. It has almost like a donut-like texture. I think we're really getting in the way here.
Is this punishment? If so, what did they do to deserve it?
It's just really good. It has kind of like this crunchy outside, that almost rubbery like skin, and then this fluffy interior.
Yes, nice rubbery skin.
Again, I don't know why there's so many tofu haters out there. To me, that is every bit as good as like a fried donut, but with a lot more protein packed within it. You don't get any of the kind of more dodgy smells from this area. I think anybody would like that. I'm interested in seeing how they really prepare it from here, because I think this is the base of like
Why would you eat that?
a pretty tremendous Indonesian dish.
And incredibly, from everything that I've found, no one's ever really tested the tofu itself, which is just kind of
Bro, where is the protein coming from?
Well, the soybeans, of course. Don't you know that tofu is more protein packed than your favorite meat, like chicken, fish, and beef?
wild to me. I mean, I'm not an expert.
The protein? Oh, it's coming from the dried cum in the fucking magnums, the Trojans, that they're using to burn as fuel. You're eating cum nuggets. Little cummies.
I'm eating too much of this at this point. But I'm telling you, at least here, maybe I'm just used to the smell. But straight off the heat, it's really good.
But if tofu is being deep fried directly over
I think eating poop would be better for you nutritionally.
open plastic flames with no filtration, that feels like a pretty direct route for contamination, more so than just some chicken who happened to be walking around nearby. And the scale of it, to me, is also what's most shocking. In just 2 days, I visited maybe 30 tofu factories, and while some did use wood for the initial boilers,
No plastic.
No.
Yeah.
that was a rarity, and every single one deep fried their tofu over burnt plastic flames. Just open fires pumping out
I
black
mean, it's the meta. This is how you min-max tofu.
smoke right into the workspace and into the tofu. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that this is how all tofu and deep fried tofu is being made in and around the Surabayan area.
I've got to admit, like, you can't taste the plastic until you get out of the factory. It's so weird. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much of it in there that it's just like,
Yeah, you get lost in the soy.
takes over your sense of smell.
And it's the second biggest city in Indonesia. It's home to more than 3 million people in the city itself and more than 10 in the surrounding area. It's not just some fringe operation, it's feeding a massive population with one of its staple foods. I'm not saying that we're looking at another Agent Orange situation here. They've been cooking and eating this stuff this way for a good 20 years by now. And I think that some of the more shocking health effects would have come to light.
They're all coming from villages like we shot today.
Yeah, so maybe not only that village, but there is several villages near East Java. There are some villages that produce tofu.
So, I mean, the problem obviously is like the plastic. Do you think anybody here cares about the plastic in this?
No one cares. We just eat this because we never. I just thinking that nobody see how their food come from. They do not see.
It's just lack of education, really. Desperate times call for desperate measures. That's his new wife, by the way. He's passport bro maxing.
How they produce it, so they don't care.
But do you think they would care if they did know? If they did see it?
Maybe, but just maybe just little percent because I just thinking that if they replace the tofu using the fuel using other things, the price of tofu become more expensive, and then I just thinking people prefer to buy something that is cheaper.
So maybe, yeah.
And they want to tax me because my car has too much horsepower. Yeah, okay.
All right. But what about you? Do you care? I mean, you saw it being made today.
I think because I'm not eating this tofu every day, so it's okay for me just once, and then I'm not dying because of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, me too. I suppose it's weird. Like, you see it today, you smell it, but when it comes to a dish like this, it's just covered
This
in
is so
so many other
delicious.
flavors. Yeah,
I don't care.
you stop worrying, right?
But
I mean, if you were born in the slop and molded by it, it's all you've ever known. You might even seek comfort in it. There's a lesson in there.
I do think that it's likely there is something far more insidious underneath the surface here. And I think that somebody needs to start paying attention. Because if
Dude, that's what we have you for.
this tofu is even half as contaminated as those eggs, then there's a problem that's a lot bigger than just one village.
What do you think about the pollution? Do you think it's a serious problem or not a problem? Sure?
Yeah, we sure that that's a serious problem. There will be a serious health impact because, you know, like this.
Isn't Indonesia Muslim now? When did they get hit with that patch update? I'm dumbfounded. I'm perplexed. I'm bewildered.
This regency, this city, was named as the most pollution city in Indonesia.
The most polluted city in Indonesia. Wow.
Oddly, after being there, I actually kind of get where these tofu makers are coming from. A lot of these guys want to stop using plastic. But there's zero demand from consumers in Surabaya for a cleaner product. And from the producer's side,
There is a lot of difference between the plastic and the coconut. Like the plastic, they can come every day, frequently. Like, you know, we just celebrate our.
Is plastic haram? Are coconuts haram? Is wood haram or halal? I need to know.
Hari Raya, yeah. And obviously at Ramadan.
Yeah.
Ramadan and.
I told you. Ramadan. Inshallah, brother.
The price of coconut just become high in price, very, very high.
What about wood? Is wood, how
Why
much
make healthy product? Nobody asked for this, Habibi.
is wood compared to plastic?
Wood is the same thing as coconut. They just cannot came frequently because of like, you know, the stock of the wood is not as much as plastic.
It's just not as reliable even.
Yeah.
So even if you guys had better boilers or more efficient boilers, it might still be a problem because you might not get the supply frequently enough.
Yeah, because like, you know, we use plastic every day and we consume it like a whole day, and the next day we need that again.
Yeah.
And if we don't use that, what we will do?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
we cannot just make wood like they just can every day.
You know, I used to read books about sharks as a child. And I used to be fascinated by the idea that sharks would eat anything. License plates, dumpsters, plastic. They're shark maxing.
Right.
Something like that.
And so the system kind of traps them. Change means risk, and no one wants to be first.
We don't have any solutions. We don't have any solutions. We can do nothing.
Right.
We can do nothing because of that. The government just give us the warning, but they don't give us solutions, and they don't have any regulations to.
Change means risk. What a crazy, profound statement. They will become plastic and live forever.
You know,
To fix
make
it.
everything clear.
It's not just about the price. It's not that these guys love burning trash. It's that right now, that's the only way they can stay alive. It doesn't seem like an unfixable problem to me. Some of the factories that use dedicated wood burners told me that they are actually more efficient than plastic burners. They just require more capital upfront to construct. Loans could help here.
So it's interesting, guys, there is that one factory that uses wood. I've got to admit, by comparison, like pretty professional.
They have embodied the microplastics.
Latif was just telling me that they were saying like they have the far more efficient, sort of maybe slightly more modern boilers, and therefore like it's actually more cost efficient for them to use.
Probably only the Amazon has more trees per square meter. Start chopping, buddy.
Wood, just more of a capital outlay up front. And you can see it right away, like their smokestack, it just has absolutely no smoke, no black, bellowing clouds above it.
And while I'm not a huge fan of subsidies, I'm less of a fan of just poisoning giant populations of people. So if alternative fuels are just simply not cheap enough, then surely there's a way to subsidize a fuel
Pick a different protein source. How about we start there? Maybe soy is not the answer.
for these deep fryers like gas. I'm just spitballing here, but these guys, they want to change. They just don't know what to do. And if you ask me, change, it's kind of necessary.
Spawn elsewhere, server is cooked. You could say that again. Listen, every day, thank you for my spawn location.
Hi guys, one more of these crazy sort of fish, shrimp pasted tofus. I'm telling you, a lot easier than Wum Nam Mam Tom if you're Vietnamese. This stuff goes down a
Why
lot.
not eat fish? Go get a net and get some guppies.
Bit easier. But that secret ingredient, that plastic, I'm telling you, you just straight forget about it.
I will never forget about it, and I will never eat it.
This is really good. That's quality tofu. Surabaya, keep doing your thing.
That's what, as a journalist, that's what you gathered from this? That's your breakthrough? That's the conclusion? That's the finale? I'm telling you, it disrupts your faculties. It psyops you. There's no way you're in a coherent state of mind after eating deep fried, seed oil, plastic maxed soy. That was the most insane shit I've ever watched in my entire life.